All right, today we're diving into Anton Chekhov's brilliant little one-act play, The Proposal. It's a masterclass in comedic chaos, really. We're going to see how three incredibly stubborn people can take a very simple question, will you marry me, and turn it into an absolute hilarious disaster.
I mean, that's the whole question, right? On paper, the plan is perfect. The execution, though? It's a complete train wreck. And the reason why is pretty simple. It all comes down to the three absurdly argumentative people in the room.
So here's our game plan for this comedy of errors. First, we'll set the scene. Then, we're going to meet our key players. We've got the anxious suitor, the stubborn heiress, and her scheming father. And finally, we'll see what happens when you light the fuse and watch the fireworks.
Okay, so the core idea of the play couldn't be simpler. You've got two wealthy families. They own land right next to each other. So a marriage between their kids makes perfect economic sense, right? It's a great way to merge their estates and consolidate wealth. It's basically a business transaction dressed up as romance.
Now, to really get this play, you have to know what it is. It's a farce. Chekhov is not going for realism here. He's using over-the-top characters and totally absurd situations to create pure comedy. And at the same time, he's making a really sharp point about people who marry for money instead of, love. So just get ready for things to get ridiculous.
All right, let's meet our first contender. This is Ivan Vasilyevich Lomov, the guy with the proposal. He shows up at his neighbor's house dressed to the nines, looking all formal, but underneath that suit, he is a complete and utter mess. Lomov is 35 years old, and he is feeling the pressure. He actually calls it a critical age. He has this urgent need to settle down and just lead a quiet, regular life. And really, this desperation is what's driving his every move.
Lomov is just a walking contradiction. Sure, he's a wealthy landowner, but he's also a bundle of nerves. His biggest weakness? He's a hypochondriac. He's always thinking he's about to die from something. And for someone who craves a quiet life, he is incredibly argumentative. It's a fatal flaw that just keeps getting in his own way.
And hey, don't take my word for it. Here it is from the man himself. This isn't just pre-proposal jitters, you guys. This is Lomov's normal. He's got palpitations, trembling lips. These physical symptoms are how his anxiety just bursts out of him, and they become this running gag that fuels all the chaos.
Yeah, let's be clear. This is not a love story. Lomov isn't searching for a soulmate. He's basically hiring for a position. His checklist is totally practical. She's got to be an excellent housekeeper, not bad-looking, and well-educated. Marriage for him is just a solution for getting that quiet and regular life. It's this cold, logical approach that makes the petty, emotional arguments that are about to happen so incredibly funny.
Okay, so now let's meet the object of Lomov's very practical affection, Natalia Stepanovna. And if Lomov is a bundle of nerves, well, Natalia is a force of nature.
Natalia is 25, and she's a very capable woman. When Lomov shows up, she's in the middle of shelling peas for drawing. She's an excellent housekeeper, just like Lomov wanted, but she is definitely not some passive character just sitting around waiting for a proposal. Just looking at this list, you can already see the problem, can't you? She's competent, she's educated, but her defining feature is her stubbornness. Just like Lomov, she is unbelievably argumentative, and she absolutely cannot stand to be wrong about anything. This makes her the perfect foil for him, and, well, the worst possible person for a nervous hypochondriac to try to propose to.
And here it is. This is the line that sends the entire proposal careening off a cliff. Lomov is just trying to lead into his proposal, talking about their neighboring lands, and bam, Natalia just completely derails him over a petty land dispute. She's not trying to be mean, she just has this compulsion where she cannot let a perceived mistake go unchallenged, even if it costs her her own happiness.
But then, you get this incredible reversal. The second her father tells her Lomov was actually there to propose, all that pride just vanishes. It's replaced by this hysterical desperation. This shows you she's not in love with Lomov, but she is terrified of missing her chance at marriage. This lightning-fast switch from a fierce debater to a wailing damsel in distress is pure comedic gold. And that brings us to the man trying to broker this disastrous deal, Natalia's father, Stepan Chubukov. Now, he should be the one keeping things calm, the adult in the room, but as we're about to see, he's just as ridiculous as the other two.
This slide pretty much captures Chubakov's entire personality, doesn't it? To Lomov's face, especially when he thinks a proposal is on the table, it's all, my angel, my treasure. But the second the deal goes south, Lomov becomes a villain, a scarecrow, a stuffed sausage. Chubakov's only real principle is getting a good, wealthy match for his daughter. His affection is completely transactional.
And yep, just like the other two, Chubakov loves a bit of melodrama. He acts like he's this long-suffering father, so burdened by his unmarried daughter. But instead of playing peacemaker, he dives right into their arguments, screaming and yelling, and he makes everything 10 times worse.
So what happens when you mix a hypochondriac, a stubborn heiress, and an opportunistic father in the same room? You get a comedic explosion, and it is fueled by the most ridiculous, petty arguments you can possibly imagine.
The proposal gets shot down not once, but twice. First, it's over the ownership of a tiny, insignificant piece of land called the Oxen Meadows. Then, after they drag Lomov back into the house, they immediately start a second, even more passionate argument about whose hunting dog is better. Both these fights escalate from simple disagreements to these wild, personal insults about family, honor, and sanity. It's just incredible.
After Lomov literally faints and Natalia and her father think he might actually be dead, Chubakov has this moment of panic. He realizes he's about to lose this amazing financial match forever, so he just forces the engagement. He grabs Lomov's hand, shoves it into his daughter's, and declares them engaged, not out of love, not out of happiness, but out of pure, frantic self-interest.
This line right here just captures the whole satirical heart of the play. Chubakov is screaming about family bliss while the brand new couple is already yelling at each other again. The call for champagne is just this hilarious, desperate attempt to slap a Band-Aid on the obvious disaster this marriage is going to be.
And that's the final punchline. The proposal solves absolutely nothing. Natalia accepts, and in the very next breath, she brings up the dogs again, insisting that her dog is better. The argument kicks right back into high gear. Nothing has changed. They are doomed to fight forever.
And that really leaves us with the final question. I mean, given these characters, their insane pride, and their total inability to concede even the smallest point, what do you think they'll fight about next? The color of the drapes? How to cook a potato? With Lomov and Natalia, the possibilities for petty conflict are truly, absolutely endless.